It's Kev from Invicta Media. I am got the pleasure to sit down with Ben from Whitechapel today. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Just hanging out in beautiful Tennessee.
It looks beautiful. It's
how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Not so beautiful. It's pissing with rain, as we say. But here in the UK, that's a normality rather than an exception to anything. But other than that, pretty good. Pretty good. Nice to have the pleasure to sit down with you for a little while and have a chat with you today.
Oh, yeah, man. It's nice.
So we're going to get into your 8th studio album, Kin, which is really, well, it'll be out by now by the time this video comes out. But a very quick congratulations. The record's great. Had it for a little while. What I wanted to sort of talk to you about with regards to it is it seems very much not just a thematic continuation, but very much a musically stylistic continuation from what you guys were exploring on the Valley. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how that process went, because it seems incredibly natural rather than it seems you got a little
yeah, I got a little order.
Hey,
hi, buddy. But yeah,
it seems a very natural progression for yourselves. I just kind of want to get into the inner workings of how those two records kind of flow together from your perspective.
The biggest part was just trying to find a song to kind of get the record started. And once we came up with like the first track, I Will Find You, that's what kind of got the gears moving, because it felt like it was a good continuation from the Valley. It just has this nice uplifting sound to it that just felt like it could go after Doomwoods. It has a cool dark melody. It's cool like Appalachian sound to it. So it's got like these kind of grassroots sound, but it has this darkness to it. And it just felt like once we finished the song, it gave us confidence to continue on.
Yeah, it seems very much that is a definite jumping off point, because the record kind of flows and moves from there. And like anything else could really start the record. So I can understand where you guys would go, right, this is the starting point. So how long into the process, sort of after the release of the Valley, did this come around? Or is it a case of, like most musicians, you found yourself stuck at home and went, well, we might as well carry on writing another record? Or was it always part of the plan to move straight on?
Yeah, I mean, it was always part of the plan. We just kind of got, it moved up a few months from what we were the timeline originally, because we had a few tours booked. Mm-hmm. But I mean, so we just started writing, after the Valley, after we recorded the Valley. We're always, if you have an idea, we record it, and then we we get together and listen to all of our collective ideas, after 2 years or so. And we just get together, and it takes about a week, and we go through all the material, and then we just pick the stuff that, resonates with us, like on the spot. So like, at that point you can't really be too attached to the music you've already written, because, we're in a band, and, we all have to be on the same page about everything.
Cool.
So, and then, you go through the material and you pick the songs, the riffs out that kind of feel like you can make songs out of, that there's, there's life in there. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of go from there. And you think about it, we just try to make a mixtape of, just music that we love. Mm-hmm. And that's usually how we write a record.
Yeah, it seems that obviously, and I kind of want to make a little bit of a grand sweeping gesture, but when you guys first hit the scene, there was definitely a group of bands that all got clumped together. And from my perspective, I think that the development that Whitechapel in particular have shown shows that you've stood out and stood longer, purely because there is that greater diversity in the sound. Like, we're starting to get to a period now, and I wrote it in my written review of the record, that it kind of went from almost slasher gore horror to psychological horror with.
Yeah.
So when was sort of the conscious decision to make that change for you guys? Or was it a case of it just happened naturally?
It's all like a reaction, to what like other bands that were like with us at the time. And, like earlier on, I guess, this is Exile and stuff like, there's like us, Suicide Silence, and Job for a Cowboy.
Yeah.
So Suicide Silence went more of like the heavy, groovy, nu metal sort of sound. And Job for a Cowboy went like, completely like technical death metal. So, I mean, those bases, those kind of bands are already taken care of. So we decided, to kind of go more of a, just a different direction, like more, I guess, progressive, what you'd say, or I don't know, just add more.
Yeah, there's more
like rock, rock and roll. Like,
yeah, there's more. I don't
know, but it's
but there's definitely a more accessible side to it. And this isn't just from, I mean, a lot has been made of Phil singing a lot more. And especially, I think he sings a lot more than he has done previously. And again, is that a case of you guys pushing him in that direction? Or is he bringing this and going, no, I have these melodies, let's write something around those? Because I think it definitely makes you stand out and gives you that different element and makes you more accessible and therefore can branch to a wider audience.
Yeah, well, it's like us pushing them, because we write the material and then he lays the vocals down. I've always knew Phil could sing. Like, he used to sing in our band before Whitechapel, but it just never came about. And I think just to mention earlier about like where it started, I'd say, I guess 2012 on our self-titled album, we started, branching out more and doing like more slower melodies. I mean, slower tempos. And once we started doing slower tempos, that kind of helps like melody seep into it. And you could kind of like dig into, slower melodies, because I guess if it's hard to like dig into like and have an emotional attachment to like a fast sort of melody, I'd say.
Yeah.
So once that happened, and then we started the riff from Bring Me Home really kind of sticks out of my mind, because that was the first riff that Phil felt he could sing on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of based a song around that, like kind of hoping Phil would sing on it. And he did, did a great job. And we had like Bring Me Home and Decennium on Mark of the Blade. And that kind of sparked a new, a second wind of, I felt creative juice.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And obviously that's got to be exciting for you guys, because a lot of diehard metalheads I see, they immediately hear those clean vocals and go, don't want any of that. Don't want any of that.
Yeah.
My metal or my death metal or my deathcore, to use the much maligned genre tag these days. But
yeah,
I don't want any of that. But I think that what happens is people who appreciate you just have more paints in your box, right? Like there's more colors in your box with which to paint your art. And that's got to be, for somebody who is a creative mind like yourself, that's got to be exciting every time you sit down and go, well, where can we push that? And where can we push that?
Yeah, it's like, it's more freeing and less, I guess, less dreadful, because like, if you're just stuck writing the same records, it's like the future just seems like less exciting. So once you start like branching out and doing that, it's it just opens more, more opportunities and stuff. But we have standards still. Like we want the music to make you feel something. I think we just realize like heavy music, there's a certain point where, I mean, it's just kind of, it can only get past like a certain like I guess emotional level. So, I mean, we use our heavy sound as like a tool, to, just to dig deeper in the listener. It's just like emotion sticks with someone longer than heaviness, I think.
Of course. And I completely agree. As somebody who appreciates those extra elements that bands can pull from, and not just sit and go, well, we're writing an aggressive metal record. And there's certainly bits of that in one, like there has been in everything. I mean, you haven't obviously thrown the baby out with the bathwater, but
yeah.
Where do you go for those melodies? Like, what are, like, to you, what are the bands that you go, right, I've loved this forever, and this is kind of where we want to push that? Or is it just a case of it's just a normal, I'm just writing something that gives us that extra bit of leeway?
Yeah, I mean, we have influences, but I don't like listen to bands and be like, oh, I'm gonna rip this riff off right here. You know,
no, of course not.
Just write a melody, and then you kind of, and maybe like you'll listen to a band that did something cool with their, you know, tone, or, you know, just how they play the riff, and it kind of, you know, it'll influence you there. But I mean, there's a lot of, you know, I mean, Catatonia being like an obvious influence because they're just really like masters of just that melancholic sound.
Yeah, I could,
as far as like
hear that in this.
Yeah, and but there's bands like All Them Witches and stuff. They have, you know, this kind of Appalachian, like a cult sound that sounds like it's blossoming and just sounds like lively and sounds like, you know, just like a forest. And also a big fan of, you know, like acoustic guitar players. Like there's these two guys from Tennessee called Dane and Taylor, and they're just like rip beautiful melodies on acoustic guitars, like harmonies and stuff. And you know, and I'm just a fan of guitar music and classic rock too. I feel like this album's like real classic rock influenced.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that, but projected obviously through the Whitechapel kaleidoscope in order to make it sound very much like yourselves. And I think that's a very important part, especially 8 records in, that you've carved very much your own sound. Like, you put it on and you can hear it's Whitechapel, even though it's very different to, if people have checked out from maybe those first 3 records or 4 records, you can still go back and go, oh, that's Whitechapel. And that band's staying power, right? Like, that's got to be even more exciting for you guys when you put it down and go, well, this sounds like us, but evolved. Yeah,
because I felt like, I mean, we got into this music first off because it has, I mean, it's like it got a, just when done right, it's got a very heavy, just cathartic feeling to it. And, you know, we use that as like a, you know, a tool, like it's like Meshuggah. I mean, it sounds just like otherworldly, like this music they make, it sounds like, and so we kind of use like heavy bands like that as like a tool, you know, for, you know, the storytelling.
Yeah, of course. You know, everyone's got those roots, especially when there are bands like Meshuggah who are almost pioneers in a way. So they've got that very much identifiable, you can hear that's Meshuggah.
Yeah.
And I think that the best bands have their staying power because they have that. And maybe not just because of one thing, but a lot of other things.
Yeah.
I definitely find that, especially in the latter part of your career, you guys are finding that. And it's quite identifiably you, which is a massive credit to yourselves. I mean, you know, like you said,
awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and it's really exciting. Like, when records turn your head and you go, oh, well, that's them, but it's them different. That's when it's exciting.
Yeah,
especially for music lovers, because there's just more of it, and you want to know where it's going to go next. And I think that what Kin has done in particular is that I'm very excited to go, well, they can do all of this now. Like,
yeah,
where are they going to go?
Opens up a whole new world. Yeah, it's like just kind of just letting our I guess personality show more. Like
for sure.
You know, with the heavy music, you can only like get so like play that style for so long without it before it starts sounding derivative.
Yeah,
of like other heavy bands. Because usually if people want to listen to super, you know, just heavy records all the way through, they'll put on just any kind of heavy band. They won't like listen to, I don't know. They just want to listen to aggressive music. So it's just like in this like whole bubble of a bunch of bands. But if, we're trying to like let our personalities shine through enough to where it's like, okay, I want to listen to this band because they bring something to the table that no one else does. And, that's just like a niche we're trying to carve for ourselves for like, the past few years.
Yeah. And I think the success comes from the fact that it's clear that you start with songs first and add what's right for the song rather than going, we've got this disgustingly heavy riff or we've got this blast beat section here. Let's just make about that. You can tell that there's a song underneath. And I think that a lot of bands forget to write songs sometimes. And as much fun as it is being bludgeoned over the head for half an hour, you can only take it for half an hour.
Yeah. That's true.
You can dig more into 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes of what you guys are doing because there's so much more to it and there's songs and it's really great. Like I can't say enough good things about it. Like I really can't. It's one that you can keep going back to and pick little bits more.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to stop blowing smoke now because
no,
this entire video
great to hear
blowing smoke. So where do you is it one of those now that you're going to sit and kind of revel in this a little bit, or as a band, are you always going, we've got the next thing already thought out?
Yeah, well, because we've been sitting on this album since January. So, I mean, we haven't got any feedback until like recently about it. So we just kind of like been going on with our lives as if, we're not like resting, just like, so we just keep writing.
And I'm always fascinated by that. Like, how does it become to you sort of having lived with it for so much longer than everybody else? Like, do you get the feeling that your record takes on a new life once people start to hear it? Or do you ever get bored of it, like before you start getting the feedback?
Get bored of it? No, I mean, yeah. But we're all just super proud of this one. So it's like I guess if one person wrote the music, I guess the person who wrote it would get sick of it because, they had to write it and they were in the process of writing it and it was just tedious. But, we're all involved with the process. So it feels like a little piece of each individual members are in the song. So, it still sounds like fresh to us. And the sounds too, like the tones and the mixing, like from Mark Lewis and David Castillo, they brought a whole nother life into the sound too. So it's cool. We could be a little like, look at it from not just like a jaded, I guess, perspective on the music.
Cool. Yeah, I just always find that fascinating when bands might have to put their releases back for one reason or another, whether it hits it's the wrong part of the schedule or or there's a global pandemic, funnily enough, stuff like that. I always find whether or not that they go, it's done, but I wish we could go back and do something else there. Because there's always that thing of your art is never quite finished. And obviously it'll get a new life in the live environment as well.
Yeah. That's the thing with the pandemic though. Like, it made us, we, no stone was unturned. We, made sure everything was right. It's the longest we've ever spent on writing and recording an album. Like we were writing for about 5 months and then we recorded for about 4 months. Okay. Spent a lot of time on it and, just to make sure all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can tell it's definitely a labor of love. Ben, thank you very much for spending some time with me today. I will let you get on. You're clearly a very, very busy man.
Good.
But no, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure from my point of view. Anybody watching this video, please go and buy Kin out now, because this video will be out after release on Metal Blade Records. And anything you want to plug yourself, sir, now is your time to do so.
Check out Kin. It's don't think of it as like a genre specific album. Think of it as like a story, because it is a story from beginning to end. It plays like a musical or a novel. It doesn't play like an individual, just songs with a playlist. It's a story. So, give it a whole listen front to back, and, love to hear your feedback. And thank you for listening.
Excellent. Ben, thank you very much. I'll let you get on.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it, man.